Welcome to another Fear Street review.
Today, we're reviewing Vicious Fun, which premieres on Shudder on June 29th.
Knowing us, it's going to be all kinds of spoilers. So you might want to hit pause on us, watch the movie, then come back to us so you can hear the conversation, unless you want it all ruined for you now, in which case, just stick around.
Some people are into that thing. And, no kink shame here.
Hobbies.
So, in Vicious Fun, Joel, a caustic 1980s film critic for a national horror magazine, finds himself unwittingly trapped in a self-help group for serial killers. With no other choice, Joel attempts to blend in with his homicidal surroundings or risk becoming the next victim. We about to disagree, y'all.
Always. It's going to be a disagreement on Fear Street every night. So this movie was not for me. I am not the audience, and I respect that. Most of the jokes didn't land, even though I did find myself having a good time at random bits and parts. I just felt like overall they were trying too hard to be funny, and you never want to get caught being funny.
I thought it was hysterical the whole way through. I laughed. I loved the cop characters. They were just stupid. Then when he said, "Never disrespect a man's mustache," I loved it. I loved it. I don't know.
All of the characters were just so over the top, and I get it that that's the style, but also his roommate was genuinely just not playing. She was not with the rest of the world. She was making those typical stereotypical I'm a girl in a horror movie decisions, and sort of being wallpaper for most of the movie, even at the end when she's like, I don't know what you're running towards, let me just keep sitting here looking pretty. And so when she takes out the one guy, I'm like, okay, so she has substance. They're like, take it back immediately. And I was like, but she was gonna be a person. I saw a glimpse. Let her be a person. No.
See, I appreciated that all the characters were over the top for in their archetype lane. I thought it was a fun. Okay, and you actually might agree with me. I don't know. This film feels like what the Babysitter wanted to be with how they play with archetypes.
Maybe. I'm not a fan of either. But maybe because this one wasn't overtly offensive. I mean, although we did not have a lot of BIPOC people here either. So put it out there. But and one of the hitmen.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. So we have two people of color in this movie. So I mean, that's more than the Babysitter. Doubled the numbers. But I feel like overall, there's something about this specific style of humor, and I get it because I was a 90s kid, so I watch a lot of 80s movies because that's what was on Hollywood Video on Blockbuster. And so I get the style of back then and wanting to pay homage to that, but I feel like some people just don't get when to not being on the joke. And so that always sticks out and bugs me.
I can see that, I guess. I did appreciate, I thought it was fun, the kind of homage to the 80s, and they were super consistent with the period the whole way through. There was never a moment that I was like, that feels weird. And it was just 80s over the top funness.
I have to give them that because I don't do trailers or descriptions because I'm a ruiner. So I will figure it out on my own, usually in the first 10, 20 minutes. So I don't do any of that. I go strictly off of title. So when I hit play and I was like, oh, we're in the 80s. That is definitely a huge nod to the people who put together the way this looks and feels. Scenic and all of them. It felt and sounded very 80s. From the costumes to everything, hair, everything was very 80s. So I didn't have to be like, are we in the 80s? I was like, that's that decade.
I also really enjoyed the character relationship between Joel and Carrie. They were a fun juxtaposition. I'm ready for Vicious Fun 2 and follow them on their serial killing spree.
We disagree already. I feel like some of the acting choices are confusing, especially within the Hitman circle. I feel like some of them were just in different movies. And some of them were in different movies, and with this movie the whole time through. And I don't know if it's not being able to adjust to the style, or if I don't know what was happening direction wise, but like there is a major character who just kept trying too hard and not really like sticking to things for me. Yeah, and it made each chapter or act feel longer than it needed to be, and so most of them could have been trimmed. That's another note, actually. Most of these chapters or acts could have been trimmed because all of them just go for too long, and then go to the next one, and you're like, not another one. So by the time you get to the last one, you're like, please just end. And they're like, haha, here's a future ending though. I'm like, I don't need another ending. Tell everybody now.
I actually agree with that. I think it could have shaved 10, 15 minutes off and been okay. But going back to what you said about the hitmen being from different films, I think they were all supposed to be from different films, from different horror films. Because you had one that was very much like Jason, going up to camps or killing sorority girls. You had one who Julian Richings, I hope that's how you say his name, who played Fritz.
Yeah.
He's always the creepiest in any movie he's ever
always.
in. He was the one that scared me the most. I was like, I hate dealing with this.
Character-wise is fine, but I'm speaking of like acting style. They were all doing different acting styles. And so you have people who are just going too hard for what they have been given, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that goes back to this movie just being a little bit too long. And not knowing when to be on the joke versus when to not be on the joke. And so, of course, if you don't know if it's an in joke or an out joke, you're just like, let me put on this mustache and do the things. And I'm like, I don't want to see this.
It was funny. Oh, I loved it. Okay. At first, I thought I would have cut the top of the film where he's interviewing the director. But when they pulled it into the end and tied it in with the ending, that last scene, I was like, okay, I actually love it because it really has a fun way to comment on Hollywood stealing other people's ideas, especially in the horror world. But yeah, and then that opening really did solidify Joel's character and what kind of his intentions are, and kind of I kind of identified with him in a way, especially as a podcaster about horror and kind of critiquing it in our own way. I thought I really liked him.
I did appreciate him being a horror critic, as someone who critiques horror all the time. I thought that was a cute little nudge, but I also felt the same way with Tusk, which is a wild ass movie because he was a podcaster and then he was something else. And so, and so whenever there's that cute little nod, I'm like, oh yeah, I see you. But yeah, I would have liked it to be trimmed, and I would have liked for everybody to be in the same movie. Some thoughts.
All right, Shrey, I think we already know the answer to this. Is it a yay or a nay?
This is probably the most nay I've ever nayed on our reviews. I can't think of a bigger nay for me, actually, on our reviews.
This is the yayest yay I've yayed so far. When you said that I would be the one going out to buy the merchandise for Jennifer's Body, no, I would buy the merchandise for Vicious Fun. Also, yeah. I just want to talk really quickly about titles, because I really think Vicious Fun is a really fun title for this film. And sometimes I think whoever decides the title, I'm kind of like, what was that about?
Yeah, like, I definitely feel like this is one of the times that like the powers that be in the Shudder originals were like, we know the lane of this. Let's do this, and let's just get people up front what we think we're doing so people can like latch on or not. I sincerely feel like a lot of people who just like nostalgia are gonna latch onto this and be like, you're 100% wrong, Sheree. And I'll be like, I always know it because y'all like to have fun and like remember your feels from those decades past. Good day, sir.
I love it. It's my favorite movie we've reviewed so far.
I can see that in you, actually.
I don't know what my least favorite one, but we'll get into that maybe in a Thirsty Thursday sometime.
Yeah. Special thanks to our friends at Shudder for making this review possible. These reviews are made possible by sponsors like you.
Yes. Thank you so much. And as always, hit us up in the comments. Are you hashtag Team Trent or hashtag Team Sheree?
Yes, hashtag vicious fun or hashtag vicious something else starts with an F or reading.
And as always, no matter what team you're on, make sure you stay
Yeah.
fierce out there.
Bye.